I hook up with my best friend's fiancé while on vacation with my boyfriend. My boyfriend, Ryan, and I had the most incredible week of our lives, which we spent on a beautiful island. We had gone on adventures to sandy beaches, hiked through lush forests, and spent a great deal of romantic moments together. It had been like a dream come true for us up until that point. Nevertheless, as the conclusion of our trip drew closer, I was given the discouraging news that my boyfriend would be occupied for the remaining 2 days of our trip. There was a huge concert taking place on the island, and as the lead guitarist for the performance, he was responsible for devoting most of his time to ensuring that it was a success. Despite the breathtaking scenery, I was immediately confronted with the possibility of spending the entire trip by myself and experiencing feelings of isolation. I awoke on the morning of the concert feeling glum and blue, despite the fact that I knew the show would go on as planned. I made the decision to go for a stroll along the shoreline in the hopes that it would improve my mood and allow me to take in the unspoiled natural beauty of the island one final time before the chaos of the concert began. As I strolled along the beach, distracted by my own thoughts, I allowed myself to be soothed by the rhythmic sound of the waves as they crashed into the sand. After that, I looked off into the distance and saw a person I recognized. It was Max, who is going to be my best friend's husband in a few days. I approached Max, who appeared to be buried in his own thoughts as he stared out at the horizon. When he became aware of my presence, he turned around and smiled in surprise. "Bree? What exactly are you doing in this place?" Max inquired. I described the situation, expressing my frustration at the unexpected lack of availability exhibited by my boyfriend. I told him how much I was dreading the prospect of feeling lonely during the concert, so I suggested that I go for a stroll by myself. Max paid close attention and grasped the seriousness of the situation. After then, he discussed the reasons behind his personal presence on the island. "Well, Bree, as you can see, I had my bachelor party last week, and it turned out to be quite chaotic. I ended up having a good time at the party and drinking way too much booze. I had the impression that I needed some time to myself, away from the commotion, in order to get my act together and be the greatest version of myself for the wedding." I shook my head in understanding as I came to the conclusion that you and I were both experiencing the same things, namely feeling alienated and looking for peace. While we were there, we each had our own unique experiences on the island, and by sharing them with one another, we were able to find solace in one another's company. As they reminisced about the humorous things that had happened in the past, laughter filled the air, and gradually, the burden of our isolation began to ease. When Max caught me as I was near to falling to the ground after tripping over a stone that I hadn't seen coming, I couldn't help but feel an unwarranted desire for him. I also felt that attraction when he held my arms. Max and I had spent some time together in the past at various parties and had always gotten along swimmingly. On the other hand, we had never really spent much time together by ourselves. There was a moment of awkwardness between us, but I realized that this attraction isn't just one way, so in order to get out of the situation, I offered the idea of introducing Max to my boyfriend. This is because I recognized that this pull is mutual. I couldn't wait to tell my boyfriend about Max, so I hurried back to the hotel as soon as I could. It was important to me that Max and my boyfriend get along well, since I and my best friend will be causing a lot of opportunities for them to interact, and I felt that it would be beneficial for them to have each other to keep them company. As soon as I arrived at the hotel, I discovered that Ryan was quite busy getting ready for the show. He was painstakingly setting up the apparatus and adjusting the sound system to perfection. As I watched him work, a mixture of adoration and yearning went through me. I couldn't contain my anxiety as I broke into Ryan's focus. I told him about how I ran into Max, who was engaged to be married to my closest friend, while I was out for my morning stroll, and he says that he can't wait to meet Max. I told Ryan that Max is waiting outside, and my face gleamed with happiness. I propose that we bring Max inside so that he can meet Ryan. Ryan gives his assent without hesitation, expressing his excitement and anticipation to finally meet Max and talk about our plans for attending the wedding of Max's closest buddy and my best friend together. As we carried on with our discussion, I noticed a dramatic change in Ryan's demeanor. "I'm sorry to have to do this, but I have to ask you all to please excuse me. I need to get some rehearsal in before the performance tonight. I am sending warm wishes your way, Bree, that you and Max have a fantastic time together. As soon as I finish what I'm doing, I'll come join you both." I shook my head in agreement as I came to the conclusion that Ryan's dedication to his profession was very important. "Of course, Ryan. Take your time. We will be leaving," I said. Following a swift peck on my lips, Ryan hastened back to the concert preparations he was making. As soon as we were left alone with Max, we began to feel a sense of physical attraction developing between the two of us. Max and I looked at each other and smiled in confusion. Max grinned and continued, "It appears that it's just you and me for the time being." Max and I spent the day going to various local Maxits and enjoying a leisurely walk up a neighboring hill as we explored the island together. We talked about our hopes, worries, and ambitions with one another, which resulted in the formation of a pull that none of us had anticipated. There were multiple times when I had a desire to kiss him, but I shrugged off those feelings and started chatting about something else instead. The island, which was previously a symbol of loneliness, became a haven of unexpected draw. There were times when he held my hand while we were crossing roads or walking a hill, and he looked at me in a way that was hard for me to ignore. Those were the moments I knew he liked me. Max and I found ourselves in the unique position of sitting on an isolated cliff with a view of the ocean as the sun began to drop. A mystical light was projected onto the countryside by the sky, which appeared to be painted in various shades of orange and pink. When Max sat down next to me, I felt a jolt of electricity run through my body. I tried to find an excuse to get away from him, but he stopped me, moved closer to me, and asked if I didn't appreciate being in his company. Previously, we had been taking pleasure in the refreshing wind. I laughed it off and told him it was not what he thought, at which point his lips slammed into mine, and I kissed him in response without giving it a second thought at that precise time. Because of a chain of unforeseen occurrences, we found ourselves inside of his bedroom. After some time had passed, I became aware that the concert had started, and as soon as I heard the guitar, I hurriedly got dressed and headed in the direction of the exit. Max addressed me by name and inquired as to whether or not I would attend his wedding, to which I responded with a smile and the question of why I would not attend his wedding. After 2 days, I stood by my best friend's side as her bridesmaid, and when the officiant asked Mark whether or not he would be faithful to his wife, I didn't look at him but instead looked downward and smiled.